Thanks so much, Oliver. Great panel. Good morning, everybody here from San Diego. We're not really in Davos, although we miss all of you. If I could ask all the folks who are not on this panel to drop off to audience members, please, and then we'll move and bring on the next few panelists that are coming on. I want to quickly thank again Carl Selig for putting together this wonderful set of events. As you know, Davos, the World Economic Forum this year was canceled again, and we don't know when it's coming back, but what we do know is that Digital Davos is alive and well, and in the house, in your house, in the piano bar at Davos, in the Belvedere, and all around. Thank you, Carl, for making that happen. To my fellow co-creators, Anand and Carl, and Dr. Oliver Krauss and Mark Mueller-Eberstein. It's a joy always to work with you. So we're very excited to start this next panel, which shall begin now. Don't know if there have been any additions since I last checked the speakers list, but let me first just welcome our panelists that I do have on board, and those include Princess Alessandra Silvestri Fürsten von Bismarck. Princess von Bismarck, welcome. We also have with us Jan Kyle, welcome, Jan, and Wendy Diamond is supposed to be here, as well as Chris Richardson, and Carl will be joining us as well. Is there anybody else that I've not got on my list that should be on my list? Jacqueline, are you part of this? Carl, is Jacqueline going to be part of this? 1 second. Is Jacqueline part of this?
I'm not actually. I'm just an attendee.
Great.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thanks for muting. And if there's a way, Hazel, to have her put back in the audience until she's ready to come back as a panelist, that'd be great, please. So welcome, Princess von Bismarck. Are you able to get your camera working?
Yes, but apparently you blocked it.
I
need it. I can't start it because it said that it's you have to allow.
Okay.
1 second.
Here we go. All right. Everybody is
hello, everyone.
in the house. Wonderful. So I'm Professor James Cooper. I'm Director of International Legal Studies at California Western School of Law in San Diego, and a research fellow at the Singapore University of Social Sciences. New to NFTs, but have been in the blockchain and cryptocurrency and disruption space for a very long time, and which is how I know Carl through our original One World Blockchain Alliance with Dr. Michael Sung from Fudan University many years ago, and now with Digital Davos. And we're really excited to have our panelists, Jan, Princess von Bismarck, and Chris Richardson here. I've got a set of questions. I want to just I can't assume that everybody knows what an NFT is. So Jan, do you want to lead us through what is an NFT, a non-fungible token, please?
Sure. So what's an NFT, non-fungible token? Maybe let's do it the opposite. What is fungible? Fungible means it's replaceable by any other identical item, mutually interchangeable, how to say, and non-fungibility versus uniqueness. I mean, the best example to explain this is maybe illustrated by a banknote, each of which is unique, we know about, which its own serial number, but still by design and by consensus, they are fungible. Token, digital assets, sure, there is a difference between tokens and cryptocurrencies per default, but in a nutshell, it is a digital or digitalized asset that contains identifiable information recorded on the blockchain. It's secure, immutable, proof or record of ownership. And yeah, what makes it interesting, it provides proof of ownership and it guarantees scarcity, right? So if you want to sell something that exists only digitally, the problem is that all things digitally can be infinitely copied, right? NFTs don't really stop this problem. You still can copy them, but they allow you to distinguish the copies from those ones that notional are original. And they prove through the ledger that you own it.
Thank you for that. And it really seems, for those of you who have been sleeping the last year, it seems like everybody from corporate behemoths like Visa and Anheuser-Busch to socialite Paris Hilton, and even GOATs, the greatest of all times, sports heroes like Michael Jordan and Tom Brady, have recognized the growing importance of NFTs for the 21st century economy. Princess von Bismarck, how are you using them? You've written a ton. I was excited about the book on Che Guevara, on Corda, his photograph. I thought of, oh my God, if you'd only had that as an NFT, imagine all the micropayments of that, iconic photo. How do you use NFTs, and what would Corda say?
We are producing NFTs, and what I like to explain to the general public, it's NFT, you have to understand a consumer behavior. Young kids are born after the 2000, they were used to buy digital tokens when they were playing games. So you have to understand why the NFTs in art are so important today. There's a lot of people buying and selling NFTs. If you look into their consumer behavior, they've been actually buying tokens when they're playing games. It would be a token that they buy on their games. Today, they buy the same tokens into Discord, MetaMask. They build up communities into gaming, and they trade these NFTs. So the NFT and the art world, today we do have a lot of young people creating NFTs, minting these NFTs and trading these NFTs. So obviously it wake up the art world. All the big galleries are starting to look into NFTs. All the big auction houses are starting to look into NFTs because it's a way to democratize art in a sense. The moment you're going to digitalize, put on the blockchain, you can sell parts of this art for multiple buyers, and the original artists get a pay because it's locked into their smart contract. It's a revolution into the art world. It's going to be a side way of making money. All the metaverse that you're all reading about and looking about, because there's so much value now in the crypto world. There are so many cryptocurrencies, they're so strong, and so many. Today we have around 70 million wallet users with very important crypto wallets there. That is why you listen to companies like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley creating funds to invest in cryptocurrencies, because there's a volume of money which is in the digital world. And the metaverse has been created to be able to spend that into the metaverse through the NFTs. So that is what we do. We're investing in multiple regions. We have a company that's based in Italy, but it trades in Singapore, Hong Kong, Russia. It's very interesting because when you look into the community, there was one NFT that we launched yesterday, and the community was full of Russians, Chinese, Brazilians, Americans, French, Germans, Israelis. So it's really putting the people together, and they create these communities into Discord, which is very difficult for us adults to log in and to understand, but it's basically multi-rational communities with a big impact into the metaverse, because they are building this future. Kids are now today 17 to 25, and the adults are taking advantage of that, obviously, because they see a market, they see a value. So the big companies and the big auction houses and even the museums, they're going to start to NFT the artwork from their own collections.
I see Jan nodding his head. And Chris, for you, what are you doing in the NFT world? And is there a way beyond art and memorabilia that we can use it in other aspects of our lives?
Yeah, I'm doing actually quite a few things in the NFT world, but I think the most applicable to the notion of NFT and art is a project I'm working on called Blockchain Video Services. And really, we're focused on empowering creators to monetize their video better than they do today with the, as we heard in the last panel, the natural monopolies that have occurred over the last 20 years of the internet. And I think NFTs are a big, big part of that. And it spans everything, right? If you look at, well, so first of all, we're just getting started. You know, as Princess von Bismarck said, 70 million wallets. Well, that's fewer than 70 million people, because many people have multiple wallets. And that's a tiny, tiny fraction of the world's population. I mean, it's nowhere near smartphone penetration, for example. So, you know, we're going to see this stuff explode over the coming decades, the same way we watched the internet explode. And the power of that for creators, if you think about the traditional artists, and when they make a painting and they take it and have it reproduced as lithographs and prints and sell multiple signed copies. You know, that old world, there are still thousands of those artists with giant collections out there that wouldn't know, certainly don't know what Discord is and wouldn't know what an NFT is. But as we help bring them on board and onboard them to this new world of digital assets, it's a tremendous opportunity for them to garner their worth of what their art is valued at naturally in the community. For me in particular, it's interesting in video because digital assets, of course, can be copied, as we said in the introduction, and they're identical copies. But the interesting thing about video is that when you and I sit down and watch the same video, if you sit down and turn on Netflix or watch YouTube and I do the same thing, we're actually not seeing identical copies. Videos are different at every play out because they adjust automatically for the bandwidth of your system and for the quality aspects, the ratios of your screen and these sorts of things. And so the notion of NFTs in the world of video is particularly challenging because you can't have just one representing a video because every single play is naturally unique and different. And how do you identify what is the original of that? So that's what I'm really focused on is looking at that space. And much like traditional art, there's a huge community out there of indie movie producers, directors, writers that quite frankly are suffering. They're suffering in the modern era, but behind the internet, the decline of the small cinema, the piracy that happens naturally on the internet. So when they do get a viral sensation for one of their small films, they don't get anywhere near the royalty stream that they could. And we're looking at ways to use NFTs to ensure those royalty streams and really make sure that the people who are fans can contribute what they want to contribute and that the artists get what they deserve.
You know, that's as a former IP lawyer and a member of the U.S. delegation to WIPO back in 2014, this is music to my ears, because if we can get more and more people invested in the global intellectual property regime, the better, and especially the micropayments for folks that just don't have the ability to pay for high-priced lawyers. So, you know, kudos to all the technologists who thought this stuff through. But what about everybody else who's not either an artist or already has a brand name? You know, it seems to me like it's just getting rich people richer. So Dan, maybe you can talk about how it fits with DeFi, how it fits with some of our ESG goals, and maybe, you know, the everybody else other than the 1% now trying to monetize this new era.
I mean, DeFi is one of the use cases, right? Let's have a look into what are different NFT use cases, where art is one. There's gaming, fashion and wearables, events, ticketing, community-driven platforms. It was mentioned before, the metaverse. Of course, NFT is not equal metaverse, but this is one of the places where this will play an important role. Virtual land, these kind of things. Digital identity is to be mentioned. I think one of the base things that we need to get clear, just mentioned before, that everyone can mint an NFT, but can you really prove that you are you and that you are having the right to mint it? And besides this, then of course we have the whole part, which in my opinion is the next logical step, combining NFTs with financial instruments, putting another layer on top of NFTs. This is actually what we are doing at Theos, a startup where I'm involved in. Theos.fi, the DeFi paradise for NFTs. We are a decentralized, creator-based financial ecosystem, or we want to be. And this brings me to what this is all around, right? NFTs and investments. When we speak, for instance, about fractionalization or fractionalized NFTs, which could be the next frontier of investments, right? NFTs have a much greater potential than just being a picture or a sound file laying in your wallet or on one of the platforms dusting because no one wants to buy it. So collectible, we spoke about this before. An example would be the Bored Ape NFTs. It's a craze actually, and it's, in my opinion, less about art, but more about ego and money. You touched this, but you can actually look into NFTs in the way of sharing of real world assets by dividing them into parts. This is what is meant by fractionalization. Imagine a protocol that can wrap any form of privately owned investment into an NFT, fractionalize it, make it tradable. On top of that, with the help of automated market making, solving one of the main pain points, right? When we look into challenges, what about price prediction and price discovery of NFTs? Those guys that are already known, celebrities, well-known creators, they might have their price tag. The normal creator community, most of them are not yet well known and don't have a story around it.
Let me stop you there for 1 second, ask you in terms of DeFi, and then move to our other panelists for a second about ESG and some of the other ways that creators can get involved who don't necessarily have big budgets. And that is know your client. And you touched on this before. These KYC, the compliance mechanisms, so that whether it's for the art world or to stop money laundering, to ensure the provenance of the people you're selling to are really those people. And this goes to the metaverse too, because you don't want to deal with avatars, you want to deal with real people. What kind of KYC compliance components can you put into your NFTs?
I mean, you can put any kind of metadata into it if you want to. The question is what is by the regulation, by the legal bodies, and we know each country has its own legislation. What is needed by them to be proven? The very basics is what is your ID, right? What is your identity? Your name, your birth. You even can think of zero knowledge proof things, so you don't really need to put all the data into the NFT, but you can actually put a link into it which gives a certain slide of answer, even not revealing your birthday, just saying that you are older than 18 years. KYC and AML is very important, and I don't want to hit into the same thing like it is used for money laundering or terroristic aspects. Actually, this is just the smallest amount of where crypto is used. But KYC, again, is very much needed in future. I mean, we trust the code, that's one aspect. But in this global world that we are living in, no matter of COVID, even COVID brings a little supporting aspect into it, because we are working digital, and we need to kind of prove who we are and where we are coming from. As I said, trust is very important. And as for now, the only way to really do this is through the mean of KYCs.
Thanks. Let me stop you there and invite the princess, please.
Yes, there is some ways to do KYC, because most of the artists are minting their NFTs. As I explained before, how do they manage to sell and to raise their Discord? They do exist in social medias. They come from Instagram, Facebook, multiple, LinkedIn, and they have their own website. So in terms of art, and you're talking about a live artist, there is several ways they do the KYC. It's not only uploading your ID with your picture, but it's also you bring a community when you're minting, when you do a white paper, your roadmap, and you're going to present to the future buyers of your NFT. There is a whole KYC already done with a lot of people that are involved. There is no NFTs being minted out there by a single artist. There is a single artist who makes the art, but there is a group of technicians who are going to promote and work that piece of art into the blockchain system, basically using Ethereum today, which is the most expensive one, but it's the most sure one. So the KYC is already the identity of the artist, even if it's not a very well-known or not world-renowned, there is a background on this artist. And this is the basic KYC, which is already securing that your art is coming from an existing artist or a group of artists, because some of the, as he mentioned, Bored Ape. It's not, it's a couple of artists working together with an AI that create multiple versions of the same NFT. They use AI, and behind this AI computerized system to multiply that one image into maybe 50,000, there is a whole group of technicians and sometimes companies. There are a lot of companies being created in Europe, United States, and Asia with technicians that you're an artist, you pay a fee for them, and they're going to mint your art and they're going to promote your art. So they are existing companies that being created. Some of them exist. I helped create a company in 2017 when I couldn't believe NFT would really work. Who's going to buy a no fungible token to have on their computer, on their phone? And today, companies like Lamborghini, BMW, Mercedes-Benz is hiring this company to mint their cars into the NFT because they're going to be used into the metaverse. Those would be like the consumer goods of the metaverse. People are creating cities, people are buying islands, buying land. They have to create that, but they are being created not by individuals only, but by companies.
This is great and a super primer for people who don't understand non-fungible tokens. But let me ask you this, Chris, in terms of video production and Princess von Bismarck, in terms of artistry, and maybe Chris, you can go first. Isn't this all, the cynic in me says, oh, this is just another example of artists producing for capitalism, that it's wrecking art, that there's nothing organic about this, that it's mechanized, and maybe that's the ultimate end of all things, but that once you bring in AI, where's the humanity here? So Chris, do you want to just start into then we'll ask the princess to continue?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, but it's almost a philosophical question, right? I mean, Andy Warhol would certainly disagree. And in the 90s, I remember when we first started seeing paintings being made by elephants. AI to me is just another example of that. And it's interesting, and people will buy those things. And the mass markets will buy lots of copies of Andy Warhol things, but that doesn't stop somebody who really is opposed to this and wants to go carve something out of stone and make a real physical world thing from doing that. Both markets will continue to exist. I don't think there's any conflict. I mean, there is the philosophical question, is the one thing art? But I think we actually already answered that decades ago. I think we know that it is. And
we all know it when we see it. Princess von Bismarck,
right.
How about what's your take on this?
It's very sad because I'm a collector of art and books. And the other day I was just, trying to put all 2,000 books that I have here in this house. And I couldn't just look at them and say, who's going to read them? They're books that I travel with, I bought, I spend time buying libraries. I put in a bag, I travel with that. And today they just look good in my library, but none of my grandchildren would like to actually touch them and read them. And this is very sad. And I think the same process is happening. It's happening today with the metaverse and all these NFTs. We're going to lose some humanity, no doubt about it. But I really hope that the base of the creations are going to be respected and they're going to be somehow worshipped by the real artists that keep working there. I love to watch, for example, Damien Hirst. He posts every day. He keep on working. Damien Hirst was somebody that 5 years ago would just hire a bunch of British people to do his ideas and produce. So who was really the artist? He or the people producing his idea? But now he's back to the work and painting every day. And I hope we're never going to lose that, because this are the basis of our culture, of our humanity. All the beauty you see in Europe, in Asia, in South America, all being made handcraft. I don't want that to be lost. But again, it's only going to be for a small part of the population. So I still have hope that we're going to still have communities doing art craft, sewing, doing handwork. Like in Italy, if you visit the Florence, there was an extraordinary museum. They created a visual of all the art crafts were happening in the 16th century. So important, because it was a way to teach people. So I really hope all these art crafts are not going to disappear in the next centuries, because they're an essential part of us humanity as human beings. So that is a philosophical point, but we cannot avoid technology. We cannot avoid this consumer behavior that I could learn and identified with my children who were born after the 2000. They have a different mindset. They don't want to drive cars. Cars today are mobility. They don't want to own a car. They don't want fancy cars. They just want to go from point A and B. If they can have an app and just upload this app and use common cars, they're happy with that. It's a whole consumer behavior shift that we've seen. And somehow it's going to help humanity to consume less, because the moment we're going to be able to share consumer goods, it's going to be less trash in the planet, because the past 100 years, we absolutely destroyed the planet. Plastic's still there. So I'm much happier if they're going to buy a digital good instead of a real good. I would be much happier to see them buying 10 tennis shoes on the digital world than to have in their wardrobe, because somehow it's going to help to diminish the real world consuming and trash less the planet. And it's just going to keep work and space to the people who are really artists and art crafts, and this never going to die. Humanity is going to always survive despite this technology run we are living, going through, and it's massive. It's going to be massive.
Obrigado. Thank you for sharing that. Jen, you probably have like a ton of things to say. I'm cognizant of the time. If you keep your answer short, and then we're going to go to a lightning round of one question each for 30 seconds. But Jen, you've got 2-3 minutes to answer what we've been talking about, please.
I mean, there have been said a lot of interesting things that I don't want to repeat, but I think blockchain as an ecosystem technology will actually help to preserve and actually make humanity stronger, right? Things can't be faked, things can't be changed, and whether it is the creator economy, if it is the celebrity which is already known, or the young guy, I just have read this today or yesterday, 29-year-old guy somewhere from Asia, he was putting out his selfies and became a millionaire. So from zero to hero, just with the help of some technology in the background, right? I do believe that NFTs and digital collectibles will give fans and the celebrities or the creators behind the opportunity to own art of their favorite creator, like we have never seen before. And the possibility of such monetizations are limitless, only, or are limited only, let's say, so by the creativity of individuals. I do believe we are just scratching the surface. What is it? The physical art represents a mind-blowing 1.7 trillion asset class, right? I think there is something for everyone. But besides looking into NFT just being a picture, I do think that we need to look beyond this. So how can we connect virtual goods or real goods with virtual goods? So how can the virtual proof of ownership through an NFT, how can this representation be something that is connected to a real good? Whether it is art for art collectors, whether it is post stamps, examples in Austria or in Switzerland was made, whether it's about something which has nothing to do with art, whether it's carbon credits or wine banks, things that you can't really trade because there are physical goods somewhere laying in a wine cellar. So there are great opportunities for all of us, and I'm very happy to be part of this.
Thank you for that. Okay, lightning round, 30 seconds or less, so you can answer in one word if you'd like. What's the most interesting NFT that you've seen? Chris, you want to go first?
Divine
No, go ahead.
Princess von Bismarck, go right ahead.
Divine Assembly, which is a community of kids from Europe that are recreating the whole ancient Greek philosophers and the Greek mythology world into NFTs. Divine Assembly, incredible.
Thank you for that, Chris.
The past into the future.
The startup community in Dubai has Taco Tuesdays, and they've started minting NFT taco artwork that they sell to fund their little internal luncheons. And they're pretty cool tacos.
Nice. Nice. Jan, your favorite NFT or most interesting NFT?
The most interesting, I would say, and sorry for getting back into the investment, would be SAFTA agreements as NFTs, right? So the investor who wants to sell his pre-listed tokens can wrap the SAFT into as an NFT, then fractionalize it, and making these fractionalized NFTs available for trading.
So
I think this is something.
Suddenly the non-fungible token is fungible.
Making money.
You got it. You got it.
I like that. Speaking of philosophical issues, nice to see that we can centralize, decentralize, and look at our navels all at the same time. I'm so excited to have been part of this panel. Thank you, Princess von Bismarck, Joy, Chris Richardson, Jan Kyle. Thank you all. Carl, this was the NFT #2 panel, and we turn it back over to you. This is Digital Davos 2022. I'm Professor James Cooper from California Western School of Law. Thanks, everybody. Be well.